The thinking behind it is that there are several projects that are just coming to a conclusion now. The Archway project, for instance, has had a lot of publicity locally and has several strands to it: a new Roman gym, a new World Heritage Centre for the city, and a dedicated learning centre for the Roman baths. And it's been 5 years in development. The official opening will be taking place in just 2 or 3 months' time. And for me, dealing with many of these larger projects on the site, the next projects that will take place will probably take 3, 4, who knows quite how many years to develop and to deliver. And so as I passed my 70th birthday just a couple of months ago, I thought this was probably the right time for me to get off the bus. I started in 1989, and a dear colleague told me the other day that he thought that was interesting because that was the year he was born. I've always been interested in archaeology and history, ever since I was a schoolboy, really. And I went to the Institute of Archaeology in London, which is a good place to go to do a degree. And I've spent quite a long time in field archaeology, worked in quite a few digs and so on. But then switched to museums, and I haven't worked in many museums. I haven't had time really because I spent most of my time here. But the most significant one was just before I came here. I spent 8 years at the Carillion Museum in Cirencester, which of course is another Roman museum in the Cotswolds. And so in coming to Bath, I was just moving down the road a bit really, because my successor, Amanda Hart, is indeed the current director of the Carillion Museum. We used to have a position where there were 13 flights of steps before the entrance and the exit. We haven't completely eliminated them all, but there are just a couple left. But you can get wheelchair access to 90% of the site now. But that also gave us the opportunity to look at interpretation and the stories we were telling. And I think in doing that project, we managed to move it away from a fairly kind of art historical interpretation of objects, where they were grouped together by type and so on, to groupings of objects that actually told interesting stories about the people who came here, who worked here, who lived here, and the kind of stories that people are actually really interested in, things with a human connection. This site has great architecture, and conserving it is an ongoing duty for every curator. But those stones are valuable to us, not just for their architectural magnificence, but for the insights they give into the thinking of times past. And that's as true of the Roman baths as it is of the 18th and 19th century elements of the site.